All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good at 9:30 at night on Friday night. Whether it's good or bad because of MCO, that's a whole different story. But glad to have everyone here in this session in support for the whole Data Kita initiative. So I'm going to get down straight to the session tonight. We've framed it as uplift for business. Let me just make sure that. So for some of you guys, that's not too familiar. I thought let me just give a little bit of an introduction to myself. Naturally, currently I'm running Dattel Asia Group and leading the team here with regards to consumer intelligence. I'm also a commission member in the International Chamber of Commerce for Thailand, also advisory board for the Global Innovation and Entrepreneurship Foundation. Some of you may know I was previously the CEO for Magic, and I've done all my other startups and other ventures prior to this too. Sat on a few foundations and centered around entrepreneurship and in all aspects of things. So that's just to give kind of a quick framing with regards to where I come from and a little bit of my background essentially for this evening, yeah? So as a little Kickstarter, right, I noticed within the group, there's a very diverse audience this evening. So it'll be great if you guys can put into the comments section some of your expectations. When you read the title, Uplift Your Business with Data, what is it that you're expecting from this particular session? And I hope from whatever baseline that I have prepared this evening, that I can also try to address or kind of move towards where you're looking out for. So please do put in the comment section. Hi, Soma. Long time no here. Good to see you. No one's entering anything yet? Everyone's shy to share expectations? Generate more sales. There you go. So I take note that, like I said, we've got a diverse group. We've got some data scientists in the audience. We've got some running care services. So we've got a couple from universities, so that's quite interesting. Trying to understand why some businesses are not valuing their data. That's interesting. How to reduce costs. How to take into new market trends. Okay. Keep that coming, right? So I'm going to try to make this session a little bit more two-way. I know we can't exactly talk, but please, continuously drop into the comment section. I've got some of my colleagues in chair, so if anything, they will try to actually address your questions also if need be. All right, thanks for sharing. So that's we got interested how to manage data for business from Unimas. Okay. How to unleash the value of data, data as an asset. Interesting, Carmen. So I'm going to try and navigate today. And if I'm somehow not addressing it, just again, drop a little note at the comment section. I'm trying to kind of frame things so that you could look at maximizing your data. So this presentation or this session is actually designed for people who's running businesses. Yeah. So for those of you guys who are not running businesses and then so forth, I hope you have a sense of appreciation. And for those that's running, doing data science as a degree from the universities, hope this gives context from an applied sense. Yeah. And not just from crunching the data itself per se. So I hope that you will be able to look at maximizing your data. How are you going to be using third-party data, and how fundamentally to actually uplift your business. So I'm not sure whether some of you were in the fire chat session earlier on that was moderated by Dr. Carl and Lalita from our farm. I thought it was interesting that at the tail end of that discussion, they were talking pretty much stuff that we're talking in this session. Yeah. They were talking about, Lalita was saying about, you got to understand your customers, you got to know what they want, who they are, why they want those things, what their pain points are, and so forth. And then as I was listening to it, I thought, well, that's a perfect tee up for this evening session. So let's start by just kind of a question to everyone in the audience today, right? Do you think consumers are rational or irrational? All of us here are consumers, right? So please, again, put up a quick comment on what you think, whether consumers are rational or irrational. Irrational. I got 2 irrationals there. Another irrational. Irrational. Jonathan is saying, think they are rational. Interesting. So we've got everyone else saying irrational except for John, huh? So let me walk through this, right? So we think, right, that consumers are irrational. And what you see on screen right now, right, is an iPhone, is the Samyang Noodle, BMW, and the Louis Vuitton at the top bracket. And at the bottom, you got Samsung, a lower end Samsung that may be, Maggi, Proton, and some other bag on the right. Now, the difference of price between all these products or items are quite significant. You got 3 times, 5 times, 3 times, and some even 7 times. And the tendency for people to design products or even services for that matter is that, if somebody has an iPhone, they will buy a noodle that's also expensive because they can afford it, and they'll buy the most expensive car that they like, most luxurious handbags and so forth. But what I want to highlight here essentially to everyone is that consumers are irrational in terms of their consumption, right? So not so much that the consumers are irrational or rational. So maybe John there, maybe that's your perspective. But what we're trying to highlight here is that consumers are irrational in their consumption. So you could be buying an iPhone, but all your other consumptions are at the lower end of the spectrum. Or you could have this kind of a view, you'll buy the most expensive car, but the rest of your life, you keep it El Cheapo and really at the other end of the spectrum, essentially. Or you could have, a whole other types of patterns that you could possibly be looking at. And that's one other permutation. So every single consumer, and I hope that, as you guys are even looking at this, you're reflecting yourselves in terms of what kind of consumer are you? How are you behaving irrationally in your daily consumption of products or even services out there? So the key thing that I kind of want to highlight here to everyone is that you cannot just define your customers based on demographics. You need to know a lot more. Because if you had just gone on a premise of defining your customers based on demographics, then you'll be assuming that, if the person is high income, then your product should be able to fit whatever they like. But as I shown earlier, that is not the case. Now, how do you ensure that as a business, right, that you are able to kind of address that and ensure that you're able to capture all the various possible customers that you can get out there? And for those that's still studying, and if you're moving into more of a B2C or supporting a company that's doing B2C, these are some of the things that you've got to take into mind also. Now, at the end of the day, the consumer market landscape looks like this. The image that I show are basically the variety of products that's out there, cut across the board, from what you eat, from the recipe, the cooking stuff, and anything else in between. And what you see at the boxes on screen is actually pretty much talking about how the consumer mindset is, the consumer market landscape is, the choices that they have, the fickle-mindedness. They're naturally more well-informed, as you all know, because of digitalization also. Fast changing, loyalty or lack of, because they've got options and they can constantly jump from one to the next. And last but not least, the market is fragmented. So your consumer today may or may not necessarily be your consumer moving forward. So that's a framing that I want to start with everyone. Oops, did I lose the slide? One second, guys. All right, we're back. Can you guys make a comment to see whether you guys are seeing the slides? All right, so let's go on first. So please, yeah, guys, prompt me on the chat. If you're not seeing, you're not hearing, or it's a bit choppy, then we'll get the technical guys and the organizers to come in to kind of address that. So let's move on here a little bit. My premise for this particular session is that the future of your businesses or the businesses that you're servicing is going to be determined by those who can maximize insights from data. Because everyone is going to be churning out products. Consumers are going to be inundated with a whole variety of products as we move more and more. More entrepreneurs are getting into the system. And in order for you to have that edge, you've got to be able to have data, insights, in order for you to be able to kind of make sure that you can get the right segments through, you can actually design even the right product going forward. So the formula that I'm putting across for everyone is to be able to harness your customer data yourself, and we categorize that as first-party data. Next, I'm going to talk about third-party data, and for this to get the actionable insights for your business, that you'll be able to get that actionable insights, be able to uplift your business, especially in the current pandemic situation, right? So let's talk a little bit about your highly digitalized right now, then the process of capturing data ought to be manageable. But if your operations is not as digitalized, then the process of capturing your can be a challenge. All right. Sorry, guys, about the choppiness. Okay, thanks so much for the input. I'm going to try and continue first. It looks like it's up right now, and see how it goes. But again, thanks for the prompt, guys. Appreciate that. So as I was saying just now, whether if you're digitalized, then it's relatively easier. If you're not, it's a little bit more tricky. But the essence of right data. And what kind of information that you want to look out of that. Yes. Capture them would be able to allow you to kind of understand. Share slide and mic perhaps. I'm definitely not mute. Let's see. Okay. Thanks, Juan, for the update. So if it happens again, I'm going to shut off the camera. Let's try again and see how, right? So where I left off before just now, those data that you capture from your customers are probably going to be able to tell you, who's buying from you, how frequent they are buying, how much they are buying, and what they are buying, essentially, right? And this would give you a little bit of an insight in terms of what you need to do to retain them, and how else can you possibly look at other guys. But the key question here is this, guys. If everyone is capturing the same data sets of their customers, is it going to be enough to give you that edge, right? Is it going to be enough to be able to ensure that you stand out from the rest of the other players out there? Naturally, at least from our lens, the answer is no. And that's the reason why we're having this session this evening. Now, I want to kind of push out to everyone here this evening to imagine this, right? You've got your customer data. You've got whatever that I was mentioning just now. You got a little bit about their names or emails and stuff. You kind of know the kind of consumption of products that they're buying from you. But imagine now that if you can know every other aspects of their lives too, would that be amazing or not? Now, if you guys think that this would be interesting, please, again, put some prompts into the chat group so that I know that you guys think that or resonate with this. If you disagree, if you feel fearful, like, oh my God, you're going to be knowing a whole lot more about me, put that in the chat group too. So while I get this PowerPoint slide sorted out again, I'm going to remove my video and see how this works, and then come back again to the video. But in the meantime, please, give me your inputs on the side. Soma, yes, but need to be compliant to PDPA. Very good statement there. Anyone else? Let's see whether we can get the slide back up. Yes, the slide is back up. You can't see my face right now. I hope you guys can hear my voice clearly enough. So only Soma is actually interested. The rest is feeling a bit concerned, I guess, with regards to knowing every aspect of their lives. And spot on, to what Soma was saying just now, without invading their privacy. A lot of people, when they talk about trying to understand their customer segments better, in trying to understand their customers better, has that tendency that invades their privacy or having that feeling of invasion of privacy. And if you can do this, know people more without invading their privacy, we think you'll be awesome and powerful at the same time. And this is where we're putting the proposition on the table for everyone to think, right? Now, if you look on the right-hand side, that little wheel around, you see fashion, you see food and beverage, you see finance and wealth, health and beauty, home and domestic, leisure, recreation, media, comms, personal development, property and utilities, transport and mobility. Now, when you see all these 10 aspects, right, we're designing it as such that it covers all aspects of your life. Just take a moment to just look at that and reflect upon your own lives and see whether, hey, actually, you know, I buy clothes, I eat, I move around, I buy some healthcare products, beauty products, and so forth. So what we're putting on the table in terms of third-party data that can be meshed up, possibly together with your customer data, is all these aspects of the consumer. So it's not just about understanding your particular industry. It's not just about understanding your particular business only, but it's understanding the consumers at large. Yeah, and to be able to have that power to understand consumers holistically, and having 13,000 consumer attributes to be able for you to kind of get a better sense in terms of what truly is your customer like, so that you can kind of look at better ways, better strategies to retain and even acquire customers out there. So that's just kind of framing things and being a little bit theoretical about things. Let's talk a little bit more from a real life case study that's done by our partners using the data that we're talking about. So this is Miwa Oli, a fruit jelly drink, and the business owner had a few fundamental questions, right? And these questions come from the point that it's not just about understanding the customers that she has. This question comes from the pain point that, look, I know my customers, I kind of know their profile, but I actually don't know beyond my little universe, beyond the interaction that they have with me. So this entrepreneur is actually asking, where else do my customers shop? I'm trying to evolve the business. Which online delivery platform should I be using? And if they're going to cafes and so forth, you know, are there any? Because they're trying to forge partnerships in order to increase their sale and distribution points. So what we did was we started the journey with that entrepreneur, kind of getting her perspective in terms of how she has framed her target audience, right? So she's framed her target audience as somebody from the age group of 20 to 39 years old, who's a female, and naturally, and she's kind of framed it also that earns below 5,000. Yeah. Of course, the product is being consumed by kids, but the main purchasing person from her premise is that this is going to be the person that I need to target to be able to buy my product. So what we did was we kind of gave her a bigger sense in terms of the landscape, some data to be able, based on those criteria that she's going to put across. Now she's going to have a better feel in terms of, based on that segmentation that I've put across, I've got about a 1.6 million market size out there. Now, so that gives her that little confidence because she did not have that before. Her premise is there's lots of kids, there's lots of females out there within their age group. I think I can sell. So this has now given her that one step of level clarity in looking at the data to be able to identify and appreciate that size she's trying to address. Then we brought one level down. We brought one level down to be able to then understand them a little bit better. what kind of occupation is this group working at? What kind of education levels do they have? The household income was actually filtered. What kind of expenditures that they're actually spending at the household level. So now this gives her a sense that, okay, I know, there are white collars and also homemakers, and that's it's quite a significant chunk of the target audience that she's having. And now drill down further. Now, we spoke before just now that the audience that she was trying to address are kids, and her assumption prior to us having this conversation was that it's kids below 15 years old. But when she saw this data set, that audience that she's targeting, it's actually 10 years and below. So she's like, oh, that's interesting. So this information or this data point here is actually very important to her because it affects how should she possibly look at her product packaging, because kids between the age below 10 and between the age of 10 and 15 would resonate to different kind of product packaging that's been put across. So she's looking at this right now. She's looking at the household size that people are addressing. A lot of the target audience are within the household range of 3 to 5 or even 6 to 8. So that's, a pretty, it's either a nuclear family or an extended family. So that gives her a sense that, how I'm selling my product right now, it cannot be just singular packages anymore. I should perhaps look at bundling things across. Now, and this comes back to the whole theme of this conference or this event that's organized by MDAC, that data points here, sometimes you may think certain things are the realities based on your observation, but when you see hard facts, when you see data itself, it sometimes shows you in a different direction. Let's go a lot more deeper than this, as I'm saying, right? Where else do they shop? A good chunk of them, here says 75% goes to the mall. They also do, a quite sizable size of them goes online shopping. Where do they shop? And here she's trying to figure out that question just now, which is what are my best, most optimal distribution channel? Especially if you're a small business, of course it's nice to say that I want my products to be everywhere, but you've got to manage your resources too. How can you be more data oriented to be able to actually then make that decision that is going to give you the highest yield out there? So the most broadest sense here is talking about supermarkets and hypermarkets. Let's drill down a little bit more. So we talk about grocery purchases. Where are people buying? And this is interesting, right? She's always had in the mind that these are some of the outlets that she was toying around, but she was also considering EcoShop. So, and when she saw this data point, it's like, you know what? If, this segment is not really going to EcoShop, I should not waste my time there. I need to spend time and effort into channels that's actually going to give me the highest yield based on that segmentation that I have. So that's another epiphany at her hand that kind of takes her away from her initial hypothesis. Next, she was also toying around, can I kind of do delivery with this whole, and her natural intuition initially was Grab. And here again, the data shows that it's Food Panda. So that becomes one of a consideration to be able to go and talk to them. With regards to cafes or restaurants, as they drill down, it's actually looking at their behavior when they go out. And this was interesting, and this was activated when she saw herself this data, and she's like, they're actually going out themselves, not with their kids. So I've got to find, perhaps retail outlets that would allow them to be able to bring back the string from a convenience perspective. So that was another data point for her in terms of refining her thought process in trying to get this through. And then naturally, having a sense in terms of their preferences, whether they're outdoor kind of a person or indoor, and if they go out, where do they normally go to? And if they're going out, eating out, what kind of restaurants do they go? So guys, so far, it's what I've been trying to highlight here is that the more you're able to kind of understand your customer segments a lot better, the better are you be able to kind of make that decision for your strategy, especially when you're probably a small, medium size. You don't have much resources. You need to be optimal in terms of your efforts. An hour spent on doing something, the dollar that you have needs to get the highest yield, right? So let me show you a little bit more in terms of other information that we can enrich this. And still bear in mind, guys, this enrichment process that we're talking about is not infringing the privacy of your customers. It's something that you're mapping between what you know of your customers and what you understand of the whole consumer universe and mapping this together, right? So let's deep dive a little bit more. What kind of other preferences? You know, if you want to know a person, you want to kind of know every other aspects of their life as indicators. You can go down to understand the kind of soap brands they use, detergent brands, floor cleaner brands, body wash, shoe brands, clothing brands. So all sorts of things to just kind of have a sense in terms of what other brands resonate with this segment that you're trying to address, right? There's no way that you're going to be able to ask your customers all these things. And this is why the formula that I highlighted earlier on, knowing your customer data and be able to get that well enough and combining that with third-party data. And what I'm showing here right now is the platform of consumer intelligence that we have as that source of third-party data. Again, there are a whole bunch of things that could be that. Now, this comes to the next section that I personally think is very interesting. Customer behavior during COVID-19. You know, we get questions every single time. People asking us, what is that new normal going to be? Now, if you look at the charts here as I navigate through, you will see that the charts are going up and down. What we tell a lot of our clients out there is that there's no new normal yet. As regulations, as government makes announcements, as things changes and so forth, how do we be able to actually understand that behavior of customers during that time? So this gives you that painting of that picture while you understand that. So you can understand what kind of meal sources they're having, their recreation activity, their social activity, their entertainment activity. As you see, you know, it goes up, then it goes down. And how can you leverage this trends for your benefit? More where they're sourcing their information, where their needs. So, and this is getting updated all the time. This is a bit more relevant to the product that she's having just now that I showed about Miwa Oli. Where are people groceries? What are they buying right now within this particular period itself? This data set is showing that, buying clothing while it was going up, it came down and going up again. How do you ride those kind of waves essentially? So I'll pause here for a while because there's a question from Soma here. How do we deal with situation where we lack sufficient data which skews our understanding? So for example, in order to understand a customer, we need 10 parameters, but we only have access to 5 due to the lack of info. And the 5 parameters, we may have the true picture. Awesome question. And you are right. You are not going to be able to get every single thing. And for all you students out there, and you may have learned this per se, and some of the data scientists in the session right now, what we take is, we look at the customer data that you have, and we find data that we can pull out. So we don't need a lot of data. We need some variables that we can use as key behavioral elements that represent your customers. And then we use that as a matching mechanism with the consumer universe, with the data sets that we have out of N, and the data sets that I'm showing you right now, essentially. So again, it's not so much about the need to have a lot of data, but to get the relevant data to be able to do that matching. So I hope that answers your question, Soma. And with the right formulation, with the right matching algorithm, you will get as close to a true of a picture without invading the privacy of that person. Yeah. And you got another example there to your question. Due to lack of new data, impact of COVID-19 is not visible. I'm pleased to share with everyone that we're one of the few companies in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand that is continuously tracking consumer behavior during COVID-19. Most of the companies that we know, or some other people tell us that they've stopped doing that. They were doing that aggressively initially, but they're stopped, right? So we're one of the few guys that actually been sharing this, and we want to be able to give this power to all businesses out there, to all entrepreneurs out there, so that you are able to sense. Because at the end of the day, guys, the reality is this. You may observe certain behaviors. I've got some friends or colleagues that sometimes tells me, hey, you know what? A lot of people are going to mall already, but that is that particular mall. But when you look at the data itself, it may not be transcending across the board. And that's the power of actually, using this kind of data sets to be able to validate some of your hypotheses, because you need to validate. You may have gut feel, you may observe, but you want to see what is that true behavior from a universal lens. Unless, of course, you're targeting that particular niche location per se, which in most cases sometimes is not the reality for businesses. So again, thanks Soma for the questions. Awesome questions. Please guys, please keep on coming as I'm sharing more in terms of other questions that you have. Let me give another second aspect to kind of show the true power of understanding a total behavior, right? So this is another entrepreneur that came to our consultant and kind of actually developed a product in this early wave of COVID on a facial cream to kind of resolve all this acne within your face due to wearing face masks. Now the entrepreneur is at the next wave already and saying, look, I've done well there. I'm addressing the market, making some good money over there. But what's the next product that I'm going to develop? So the entrepreneur has a hypothesis that he wants to produce moisturizers. But when we kind of looked at that information that we have within the data sets per se, and if you were to look information of face wash used against night moisturizers, then you will see the kind of different functionalities that people are looking at. And if you can see the screen right now, I'm highlighting certain boxes of numbers that says that people that use anti-acne pimple are actually looking at oil control, dark spot reduction, and pore refining. So this entrepreneur now is saying, hey, you know what? I've got this small amount of money that I need to invest in this new product. And if this is going to be the case, I should not be putting into what I was going to do before, but perhaps develop something that addresses this three aspect and look at some serum that kind of looks at addressing this. So again, I wanted to show here just now was demographics and some behavioral, but this is more product centric and kind of looking at that external data points. This data points is not something that you can kind of reflect back within just your customer database or your customer data that you get. And again, to Soma's question just now, getting some of the parameters from your customers and kind of matching with this insights here through gives you that better visibility, gives you that confidence for you to make that call, for you to spend that little bit of money so that you know that you can get the highest yield out there. Now, as I mentioned just now, all these data sets that I'm talking about, right, naturally beyond your own customer data comes from our consumer intelligence platform, as I mentioned earlier on, Voyager. And this is where I just kind of want to shift a little bit and pause that we're actually have just soft launched a national initiative to empower businesses with data. Because we understand as we speak to entrepreneurs out there, friends who are even struggling on business and so forth, as you pointed out, Soma, as basic as not having visibility of COVID-19 data or behavior in the context of COVID-19 or other aspect of things. So I'm going to tell a little bit more about this. So just wait me out through till 10:30. But let me just ask everyone whether you are still following what I am sharing so far. Do you like what you see so far? Thanks, boy. Thanks, Soha. Great. So that's awesome. That at least it's getting activated there. Now, For those that's not too familiar with data, it can be overwhelming. But what we're going out there and telling folks that, with the right framework, you can generate your own powerful insights. Without the right framework, stuff that you see just now will not mean anything at all. It will just be percentages, numbers, charts, nice looking charts that's just been presented. So I just kind of want to spend a little bit of time here sharing a framework that we've developed to kind of help you tune your thought process a little bit. Yeah. And we call it G2K2S because for every businesses, you want to grow. And the strategy for you to grow is to look whether are you going to be trying to switch customers from your competitors? Are you trying to sell more to them? Are you trying to keep whatever that is there? Or are you trying to KIV them because that segment, for whatever reason, is not working as well for you right now, right? Now, and the framing as you're looking at the data ought to be seen from both aspects of opportunities and problems, yeah? And what tends to be the case when we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs as we share the data sets that we have and so forth, is that they tend to look at the highest percentages of things. That's awesome. But it's always interesting to look at the reverse numbers also, the smaller numbers, because that sometimes is where the opportunity lies. People normally don't take that opportunity simply because they lack data, they lack information to make that decision. So they take the safest route. But if you want to be able to maximize your profits, you want to be able to maximize the business that you're trying to drive, then you've got to be able to take that leap moving forward. So this little canvas that we have allows you, as either the business owner or the analyst, trying to look at data and kind of putting them into baskets, right? Basket of possible opportunities, basket of potential problems, and then looking at crafting an opportunity statement out of this too. And naturally, with the right framing, I kind of walked through this just now, getting that overall market landscape. And the analysis I showed just now was very linear. If you'll be able to get more data sets and to be able to look at different perspectives, you'll be able to compare different market sizing to make that right business call. Getting that segmentation to the T. Yeah. So these are the 4 steps that we had to make sure that you have the right framing through. And then, this is back to that G2K2S that I was talking about just now. You don't do necessarily all. You got to make the call to decide which ones do you want to explore. But this framework essentially helps you to kind of see which strategies should you start first. What should you kind of put on hold so that you can kind of maximize that opportunity out there. And this is just an example. While I'd love to actually go through the whole process across, we only have 1 hour tonight. So I just kind of jump and say, look, these are just some of the question framings that can be placed in terms of possible opportunities, because this use case or this entrepreneur that we were dealing with was starting from a certain hypothesis, similar to that drink entrepreneur that I mentioned just now. But this now gives her different lenses of opportunities, problems that she was looking at before in terms of her segment, and then to be able to drive an opportunity statement. And now her opportunity statement comes from the lens that she needs to now convince non-beauty enthusiasts to embrace her product, because the sizing is good, but they're just non-beauty enthusiasts in terms of a behavioral lens. And also on the social media aspect, as they were dissecting through, she's got to refine how she's going to be able to address that particular segment itself. And this ends up being the final output if you were to walk you through the whole entire process. So this particular entrepreneur, Anna, is actually looking at a switch and a sell strategy for her business to be able to get that output that she wants, to get that sales that she wants, essentially. So again, guys, we've got about 15 minutes to go. I want to kind of revisit back in terms of UPLIFT Malaysia. an initiative that we're working on with the collective partners that we have. But let me just drill down here in terms of what that exactly is. It's a 50 million ringgit data fund that we want to kind of give to qualifying businesses out there. Naturally, we're focusing on consumer-facing businesses. But the reason for this is that we know that businesses are struggling out there. We know, as Soma highlighted just now, that you don't have data points to be able to. You've got gut feel, but you're stuck. You're not sure whether you can make that call or not. But we also understand that for most of you guys out there, especially those that's running business, and it's also relevant even to the session with Lalita and Dr. Carl earlier on, that people talks about data, people talks about in terms of applying data into their business, and they have a sense of appreciation. And we've been engaging quite a number of entrepreneurs on various sizes, right? You would think that the hunger for data is not there, but you'll be surprised that the hunger for data is there. But the problem that everyone is facing is accessibility to that data, right? Most of them that we spoke to are not capturing enough data or that relevant data per se, right? They think they've got abundance of data, but it's not enough for them to make reasonable decisions moving forward. But the other aspect is they're not sure of what's happening around them. So here we are offering 50 million ringgit fund to 10,000 businesses. Once you get to 10,000 businesses, then this program or initiative stops. And as I mentioned just now, we know for you guys out there that if you're not too familiar with data, so we've designed a very specific program here to actually help you in your data journey process, right? And I think the spirit of this whole conference, the Data Kita movement, the Data Kita initiative, is about getting more and more people to appreciate data. Yeah. And if they can't appreciate data, you got to give them data sets first. And that's what we're trying to do here. Make you understand how can you apply that data. So we've designed this program that's 14 days so that you can, walk through the thought process, apply that to your business. And within the 10 days after the first 3 days, to kind of apply that strategy so that you can look at generating your first 10,000 from this new strategy, right? You could be earning a lot more, but this is applying this new strategy across. And we're actually going to be adding some bonus coaching sessions also so that you can really kind of balance between data knowledge and applied business knowledge for you to really make full use of this. Now, under normal circumstances, the total value of this program that we have is 2,500 ringgit. And what you'll get beyond just the program is that you will also get 1 month of access of what I just showed you just now. 13,000 attributes, 10 vertical consumer behaviors, totality of understanding the consumers itself. And that's valued at about 3,000 ringgit. I mentioned about the 2,500 ringgit just now on that coaching program. And last but not least, we've got Owner Circle as our partner. That's going to be kind of linking you guys with a business community. And, you can't really put a price tag to that. And hence, we're saying that that's priceless. But from a tangible perspective, we're looking at a total value of about 5,500 ringgit. Now, why we think you should be applying to this? Because we've got a combination of technology, training to be able to help you support applying that data to your business, and a community to be able to work together towards realizing that through. Again, guys, the data fund is only for 10,000 businesses. I know the number of people that have lost jobs, the number of people that have shut down businesses is way, way, way more than this. But this is all that we can afford right now in order to support businesses. Now, the thing that's special that I want to share with the participants here and the audience here tonight is that UPLIFT Malaysia Data Fund is going to sponsor 5,001 ringgit out of this 5,500 ringgit, which means all you need to pay in order to get yourself power up, in order to get yourself to uplift your business, using data, using the coaches that we have, leveraging on a business community is only 499 ringgit. And we feel that if we can kind of empower businesses during this session, taking elements of what I've described to everyone during the course of this session right now, then I think, we would hope that then employment, businesses will not die, or those that are trying to start businesses would get better clarity in terms of what kind of opportunities that they could possibly get. So that's the end of the session, guys. In terms of walking through, how can you kind of get your data and then mesh that up with third-party data? And in this context, I was sharing with you guys our data sets. You should also be looking at other data that is available to you too, either it's social media or Google Analytics, and kind of use these as your ancillary tools, ancillary data points to give that totality. I'm more than happy to address any questions, whether it's specific to Uplift or whether it is in any parts of whatever I was presenting earlier on. My colleague has kind of shared within the chat group a link, if you're interested, for you to be able to go to that link that's in the chat group, so that you can then connect and be part of the program and have access to this really powerful data that will be able to then give you that edge among anyone else, and kind of bring your business back into rhythm, hopefully. That's all I have right now. We've got about a good 8 minutes before 10:30. Are there any other questions from anyone else over here? Going once, going twice. So I normally like to believe that, when there's no questions, it means the presenter has done an awesome job in delivering their content. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's a question here. If we're, let's get from Nadira first. If we're new to analyzing data, what's better to start? In terms of understanding our customers, looking at our internal data, or external, like what you provide? Well, Nadira, I think if you can have both, then it'll be far more awesome. Because the data that you have internally, while those are your existing customers, it may be skewed towards a certain profiling. It's still good data, but like I said earlier on, the best formulation is to be able to get a mixture of the two. and that's partly the reason, under normal circumstances, as I mentioned just now, the kind of data that we're providing costs a lot and doesn't become accessible. It's only through this Uplift Malaysia Data Fund from Dattel and its partners that we're able to then empower businesses like yourselves to be able to have both. Because otherwise, under normal circumstances, you would need to just work with whatever data that you have and whatever other observational data we have. So I hope that addresses your question, Nadira. Soma, any deadline for Uplift? Well, we do, the deadline categorically ends when we've got 10,000 business on board. We've just started, so for you guys, there's still room. But if you're in a rush to ensure that your business needs to kind of sustain, if you're in a rush, we are actually having the kickoff of our session, that 14-day program, next week. So for this first round, if you can get yourselves in now, that's better. Otherwise, get in touch with my team, get in touch with myself. This Run the World platform is kind of awesome. It allows participants to kind of connect with each other and chat on the side. So if you want to write the first wave of things, we've got a session running on the 25th. So as long as you can get to us by the 25th, as long as there's enough seats for the 25th, then you're on board. So that's answering Soma's question. We've got about 4 minutes left. The Run the World has already give a time prompter up. Come on, guys. This is an opportunity to ask students. You guys from Unimas or UTM, do you have any questions into this context? Like I said, for students, I hope you guys kind of appreciate from an applied context in the consumer lens. For the jack of all trades, one Noor, perhaps this is something that can be applicable to some of your jack of all trades. We've got software architect. We've got somebody from brand and marketing. Let's see who else we have here. So I've got some guys that's from a data-centric perspective. Again, like I mentioned, regardless of what size you guys are in, regardless of the role that you're in right now, whether you're in the data end, from a data engineer, data processing, cleaning, or a data scientist themselves, I hope this session was meaningful. And to the organizers, thank you for having us here, for having me in particular here this session to be able to share a little bit in terms of our context. And I do hope that we can spread the word to a lot more people because there's opportunity for that can be captured from this UPLIFT data fund. Is once in a lifetime. As I mentioned, the price points and the data sets that we have are usually only accessible to tier 1 brands and large advertising agencies. UPLIFT Malaysia Data Fund will make data accessible to everyone. With 2 minutes left, so that's a virtual group selfie that's been prompted. Thanks, Han, for prompting that. So if everyone can kind of go and take your own selfie, we're going to have a group photo here. And the platform is going to kind of collate everyone's picture and send you guys to kind of commemorate this session. So come on, guys. Everyone that's in the group, take your selfie. Put it up over here, and we'll get something to remember out of this session. Soma, have you done your session? Zuri, take your selfie. Hazwani, Justin. One Noor, jack of all trades. Come on, guys. We've got 1 minute more to go. Everyone selfie. Once you're done selfieing, go back to the chat, click on the link. Oh man, we only got a bunch of guys that is outgoing to take the selfie. Never mind. Please do connect with me. The platform allows you to connect. We can chat after this session, and I can ask any questions that you guys have one-to-one. If you guys are a little bit shy to ask within this group. So again, I'd like to take this last 30 seconds to thank everyone that has joined us, to thank the organizers, to thank MDEC, Dr. Carl in particular, to actually drive. And I've been having conversations with Dr. Carl a lot in trying to empower businesses with data, get the larger data community up to make more people data aware. Or as we like to call it, Dattel, Lake Data. So guys, thank you very much. Enjoy your night. Have an awesome night. Goodbye.